You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to the second part of last week's episode. Let's jump back in.
I mean, I think what I find really cool about you, and I also think is something that everyone listening to this can take away from the way that you do business, right? Because you clearly are a savvy investor, right? You can't really be a successful real estate investor and not be good at the real estate part of that, right? That's basically table stakes. That's what you got to pay to get in. It's like if you're just like, oh, I'll buy anything and I buy high and I sell low, it just doesn't last very long, right? So you have the technical skill set, but what you also aren't afraid to do is bring your own personality to the workplace, right? Like your website reflects your personality, right? And I think you're right, like because I saw the older one, the new one really reflects your personality. Even just talking to you, right? Like you reflect your personality in how you talk about what you do. And then, like you said, like you're like, you have a certain kind of personal code of ethics. You bring that to the business model in a place where maybe you don't need to in order to maximize profit, but you're willing to do that. Those are all things that people really respond to. But I think a lot of investors are afraid to do, right? Like a lot of investors, like they just don't, like they want to project a certain image of, I don't know, being really, really professional. Like, or, it's like we are real estate global mega corp. And, and it's really just one person on the phone, but it's like they want to project this like image of being almost like a hedge fund. And I think a lot of sellers don't respond to that at all, right? They respond to people that are being real.
Yes, absolutely.
So you kind of hit on this. Let's talk about the business model behind Black Girls Buy Houses, because like you said, you're doing the development stuff. So you have the real estate side. You also have, sounds like coaching, consulting side. So can you kind of break down for people like the different sort of parts of the business? Like how is it structured right now?
Yes. So we have, like I said, three sides. So we have our primary side is helping homeowners that are going through foreclosure, tax liens, probate, death in the family, just distressed property, short sale. We pretty much handle it all, where we come in. We can do this virtually or in person. Well, if you're outside the DC area, it will be virtually. But
do you do a lot? Like, do you do like national investing? Is it like primarily DC area and then surrounding areas? Like what's your target market?
Oh yes, so primarily yes, DC and I say Southern Maryland, and right now I've been going down to Charlotte.
Okay.
We've been going down to Charlotte, We've been going down to Charlotte and Central Virginia, where Petersburg and Richmond are. So kind of short along the East Coast right now, but since it's more virtual and I'm kind of reaching out nationally now through my marketing and advertising, I'm not afraid to, take other properties outside of that are, my surrounding area. And especially that goes out to investors who are out in that area too that are looking. We do help them. But outside of Black Girls Buy Houses, we do save those in foreclosure. I really love foreclosures so that people don't necessarily, they get the best bang out of their property before it's lost. And I know that a lot of people have been affected during the COVID pandemic. So that's definitely like dear to my heart to help people, as many people in foreclosure, especially this upcoming year. And as we move into the election and as the economy is getting back to where it needs to be, that's like near and dear to my heart. So I'm really looking forward to helping foreclosures.
I was saying that, fingers crossed that the economy ends up back where it used to be. I feel like investors, when I talk to, they're kind of like split down the middle, or some people are like, yeah, I think it's kind of getting back to a healthier spot. We're going to be okay. And then other people are like, yeah, I like invested in a suit of medieval armor so that like if anybody attacks me with a spear, I'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, it's very split down the middle. So,
Right, yeah.
but okay, so yeah, so like foreclosures, a big part of like again, kind of bringing your personal ethics to it, right? It's like those are the people I like to help. Okay, so sorry, I interrupted. Please continue.
No problem. And then those investors. So I'll also disclaimer: we do not buy the properties ourselves. So we have a group of investors that buy properties cash that we work with primarily. So if you want to be a part of our real estate group, please contact me at blackgirlsbuyhouses.com, or you can go to blackgirlsbuyhouses.com/let's connect and make an appointment with me, and we can, talk about your specific investment criteria that you like. And so that's another side that, we primarily work with investors and what their specific needs are. And then the third side is apartment syndication. So on that side, I have partnered this year with Wild Mountain Capital, and they're located in San Antonio, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. So we do apartment syndication with them. They do the management and the renovation of the apartment syndication. But if those who don't know what apartment syndication is, that we help low-income families. So we buy distressed apartments and turn them into Section 8 housing. So that's a way for investors to get, even if you're not necessarily an investor, that you're experienced, if you can still invest with us through apartment syndication, where we do give returns back on your investment, similar to the stock market or traditional investing, but our returns are way greater and higher. And on top of just getting a return back on your investment, you're helping underprivileged community be housed and close that gap. So that's something that we're doing privately. That's, yes, the government is involved because they're placing the Section 8 tenants in, but as we all can see that there's a lack of low income housing. So that's our way to contributing and closing that gap, is to create low income housing so these people are housed and have a place to stay. So we still have an opportunity right now available. If people still want to invest, please go to our our website, and definitely will, direct you, and I'll talk to you more about it. And it's just a great opportunity. And I definitely couldn't leave that partnership with Wild Mountain Capital on the table, because who doesn't want to create, like right now with my project management, we deal with condos, we do, resale. So we are affected primarily with the economy, but, this apartment syndication, like I said, we those who have slumlords that have 150 unit, if you live in a 150 unit apartment and your landlord is not the greatest, or you guys are lacking resources in that community, those are the type of apartments we like to buy and then create those into low income housing so people can enjoy the community and have, resources like, you'll be surprised what apartments are lacking, such as, washer and dryer, a clean pool, roofs, there's vacant units within the apartment building. So, we're building safe communities and building better communities because everyone needs a place to stay. And that's that's a part of social work that I learned. And that's why I got my degree in social work too, because there's you have your basic needs, and if it's called Marlowe's hierarchy of needs. And so you have to meet those needs, like, basic food, shelter, love and compassion, in order just to be a healthier, better you. So I recommend, if you haven't, please Google Marlowe's hierarchy of needs, and that may help you, be a better person and, just live your best life, just meeting those needs for yourself and those around you, to make sure that, you're compassionate.
Right. It's hard to self-actualize if you don't have a roof over your head, right? It's like you got to deal with one. And this was a big part of the reason I wanted to have you on the show, right? Because I think many investors, right, when you talk to actual real estate investors, it's very common. And in fact, it is one of the things that I found the most surprising about the industry when I started working with them It's like almost every single one you talk to is like, I do this because I get to help people, right? Yes, it's a way of making money. Everybody wants to make money, like they're,
Yes.
But they're doing it because they get some fulfillment out of helping people, right? But I think the common argument against real estate investors, and a lot of time when you see real estate investors depicted negatively in the media, the argument is often, well, you are buying a home from a person, you're buying it low, you're rehabbing it, and then you're selling it at a higher price. So what you're doing is pricing people out of the neighborhood, right? There's sort of a version of gentrification or whatever, where it's like the average income level you need to live here is now going up. Housing is really expensive. There's a housing crisis, and all this stuff kind of wrapped up. And so the idea of using the investing business model to create low-income housing, which is this thing that is so desperately needed pretty much everywhere across the country. Like, there's not an area in the country that's like, no, we're good. Like, we solved that. It's like pretty much a problem everywhere you go.
Yes.
I found that like really inspiring. So like, if you're talking to an investor, I'm trying to think of like what someone might ask about this. If you're talking to an investor that's thinking about investing, like with you, or perhaps with, someone that's doing a similar model, right, where they're sort of creating low-income housing, is the pitch to that investor like, look, the return is similar to what you're getting in any other investment, but you're helping a community? Is it primarily an ethical one? Is there an element of it that makes it a better investment because of the government involvement? Like, just for people who are like brass tacks numbers people, what would you say is like probably like the best argument for looking into this kind of investment, investing in turning these things into low-income housing?
Well, I'll say it is more of a secure investment rather than doing something that's more unpredictable, getting into the stock market or your 401k, because the last time I went to a presentation, they were saying that you get less than a quarter per year, on a 401k, and just based on the economy, that your savings may fluctuate, whether the economy is going great. Obviously, yes, it's going up. But now that we're such in a shaky and a recession, they, not necessarily called it, but those who are economists are saying, yes, we've hit our recession since we've been down 2 quarters. We're still in a secure, real estate is still in a secure bubble as far as, especially when we buy in a distress, and that's the way for investors to get in, similar to, I guess, the stereotypes that they see, that yes, you're going to get in low with us to provide, a service, and not even a service, to provide housing for low income housing. And then you're going to also benefit with us as we, as they live, as, the property also appreciates with time. It not only appreciates and gains equity over time, but that steady income that's coming in from the government is also going to help profit you later on down the road as we're doing payouts and all that. So it depends on necessarily the investor and what their interests are. I like to gear it towards that. These people need housing. We know we're in a distressed bubble right now where we need a large number of low income housing, and this is the way to get in with it. Especially when so many people request for their mayors, their governors, senators to all do something, and they don't do anything. So this is a privately equited, project to provide housing to low income needs. And then also you are an owner in the property. So it's not like you're just putting in money. You do own a share of the property. So you say, hey, yes, I own a part of this 150 plus unit apartment syndication. And then, we continue, going as time goes on, and you can, reinvest your money, similar to when you're doing trades, and get in and get out. Well, it depends on our agreement, but, we do have a time period on how long we would like you to stay. And then if you want to stay in, great. If you want to, collect your money and go on into a different investment, that's fine too. But We definitely want to keep we want to keep as many investors in our, pool as much as possible, so we continue making, housing throughout the country, and just continue to growing and doing better, as we're moving out of this pandemic and post-pandemic, and how we want our livelihood to look, being Americans and, citizens, how we want, I don't have children yet. I don't know about you, Dan, but I want my, my world to look a little different for my children and grandchildren. So this is a part of, my contributions into doing that too.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, right? Because it seems like such an exciting thing. It's like something I really like about your business model. It makes me think about, like, I'm in Connecticut, right? I live in Connecticut, and I live in my town is like fairly posh. We actually moved here because my kids are mixed race, and we wanted them in a more diverse school environment. It's kind of hard to find in Connecticut. So we're sort of closer to the Hartford school system, which is, in our school system, is pretty diverse. That's why we live here. But it's like recently, they're sort of putting up apartments, and they're kind of like, oh, you commute to Hartford, you have work in insurance, like they're apartments for like, pretty well-off single people typically. But they were going to designate like 25% of the apartments as like low income, right? So that was part of the thing. And people freaked out, and they like protested, and like it didn't happen. And I was like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with us? Like, so there's such a need for this, and it is such an important thing. All right. So I have to ask about your marketing, because obviously the podcast is called REI Marketing Nerds. I'm legally required to ask about marketing every single episode. But I specifically want to talk about your social media, because I think you actually do a really good job of social media. First of all, if people want to find you on social media, what are the channels you usually direct people to, and how can they find you there?
My primary social media is my Instagram, and that's at Black Girls Buy Houses too. I love LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn.
Is it two, like TOO, or the number 2?
Oh, the number 2.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yes. And LinkedIn, myself, Sunday McIlwain, and Black Girls Buy Houses is on LinkedIn. Facebook, we are on Facebook, but I won't say I'm on there a lot, but you can message. I do check my website frequently.
Yeah.
What else?
What have you found to be? It seems like Instagram is your primary one, and then is LinkedIn kind of what you would say is your sort of secondary channel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And LinkedIn has helped tremendously in my business too.
So I think that investors often have a very hard time doing social media. And I think it's often because they try to do social media the way they do postcards, which is like their social media is like, sell me your house. Like it's just that with like a different picture every time.
Yes.
I think you've done a really good job of differentiating yourself. So like, can you talk a little bit about what you do on Instagram, what you do on LinkedIn, just kind of how you think about it? Like, how do you decide what to post? I think that's kind of what people want to know. It's kind of like, well, what do I say other than we buy houses over and over?
So for my Instagram, it came from a place of looking at other people's Instagram and also seeing that similar to Dan, as far as people posting just like a distressed house or a distressed house they went to and saying, we buy houses. So I wanted to gravitate an audience. So during the pandemic, I would say all this kind of transpired during the pandemic, things that are popular. So say like, I don't know, a Chris Brown concert. Chris Brown just came here to DC and he was in Charlotte when I was down there. So something similar to that, or an accident or anything, I would just kind of use that as a hashtag for the day. Like say, okay, who else is kind of popular in the news? Like, I don't know, Wendy Williams. So I would like put a hashtag Wendy Williams. But as far as my graphic would go, I would just, honestly, Canva made a big contribution in using.
Oh, Canva. Yeah. So we use that too. Yeah.
So I would go on there and kind of type in ugly houses or kind of like a keyword and kind of whatever template they gave me and kind of start just playing around with it. And then they would give me like little icons like of money. And I was like, oh, this is a cool icon. So the next one, I'm going to use this one as the background instead of this one. So the pandemic definitely helped as far as getting me creative on making graphics. And then since my time has been not necessarily taken, but it's used primarily is to talk to people and meet with homeowners. And I'm talking a lot more during the day than I can actually sit down on the computer. So I actually have hired a social media team. So now we have a weekly meetings where I'm pretty much telling them, this is what I would like you all to put out. This is what's upcoming. This, and then they also tell me like, oh, I think earlier Monday was National Relaxation Day. So, they're putting up posts to, also gravitate people in their attention. And then my hashtags are gravitate more toward what's popular that day, and not necessarily we buy houses cash, but I also thought that when people are on social media and they're in a distress situation, they're not going to be looking at we buy houses. They're going to be looking at trash social media. So how can I put myself where they're going to be looking at trash and be like, you know what, I need to get on my responsibility and go back over here. So kind of redirecting them from, pop culture into, okay, you know what, this girl can help me because she is in, Beyonce's new, hashtag or something like that. So it flows like that in order to get followers. Followers are just people to start to look at you. So that's been, I guess, my little secret that I've been.
It's a good one. So like I think that's a really good idea, right? Because I think a lot of what happens too is people post for like a couple of weeks and then like nobody sees it and they're like, well, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like they don't see the payoff. You're sort of getting in front of people who maybe don't know you yet, sort of pulling out just the people that are your kind of people, right? Like the people that respond to your message, the people that are interested in what you're doing. And, you can kind of slide them over into your little bubble where they can start to get the rest of your stuff. What about when you're on LinkedIn? Are you primarily looking for other investors? Is that where you're kind of looking for buyers and stuff? Like, are you posting the same stuff on LinkedIn that you do on IG, or is it different?
Yeah. So on LinkedIn, I would say, my marketing, over there, it helps me get investors. I would say it helps me get more things to make my life easier, such as assistance, just, I guess, things that will make my virtual business better. It happens over at LinkedIn. So those, yes, they're investors and people who buy houses, but it's just people who are also marketing their business that are virtual assistants, those that have lists, those who want to do cold calling. And I kind of just keep them in once they send me a message, I keep them in a database, and then once I'm looking for that particular thing, then I go ahead and do like an interview process and talk to them and see, if they respond back after, X amount of time. Yeah. Great. If they don't, then I said, okay, well, they were just on LinkedIn for a short period of time.
Right. So maybe not a good sign if they don't respond. To my message. That's cool. So you kind of use it almost as like a talent pipeline, right? Just for stuff that's going to help you actually run Black Girls Buy Houses.
Yes, absolutely.
Sunday, I could literally talk to you for like another hour, and I am not allowed because I have other stuff I'm supposed to do. But your story is amazing. Your business model is super cool. I just think for people that are listening to this, right? Real estate investors, they're doing their own thing, they're marketing. I really, really encourage you to go check out Sunday's stuff. So again, the website is Black Girls Buy Houses, right? .com. That's the website. Black Girls Buy Houses, the number 2 on Instagram. I'm going to have links to all the social media and stuff on AdWordsNerds.com. You go find it, Google it, Google this episode. You'll find it, I promise. But no matter what you do, if you're listening to this, you're running, you're driving, or I don't know, you're usually like me, I'm listening to the podcast, I'm doing the dishes, right? Put everything down, just dry your hands, go open up a tab and check out Sunday's stuff because it's really good. And I think, Sunday, you are just such a great example of somebody doing something a little different in real estate investing. I think that is the way moving forward. So I'm just so happy you were able to come on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your stuff with my audience. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Dan, for having me. And those who are listening, don't be afraid to get into real estate investing. Even though I've been in real estate investing for 7 years, it's still not too late. There's still potentially an economic downturn where you can do the same thing I'm doing. And there's much more people that need our assistance out here. So, be a servant and service, our community, our nation, and get into real estate investing. And the most important part about this is that, none of your own money, and I guess we didn't really hit on that. None of your own money is really necessary in order to start investing and do what that I do. Like, most of my money goes into marketing, but when I'm talking to a homeowner and everything, it's no money included. You can start free, just knock on a neighbor's door. Almost, especially if you have a distressed house in your neighborhood, you can start right there, and that's free.
Yeah, and if you are an established real estate investor too, invest with Sunday. She's got a buyer's list, right? That was at the Let's Connect. So blackgirlsbuyhouses.com/Let's Connect.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh my God. You're building your buyer's list. Everybody wants a buyer's list now. Look, just get on hers. Just going to help you out. Sunday, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you for having me. See you later.
Of the REI Marketing Nerds podcast, I hope you had a blast listening to my conversation with Sunday. I know I had a blast doing it. As always, look, if you need help with your online marketing for real estate investing, AdWordsNerds.com is the place to go. That's the website. You can jump on a free call with my team. We will talk strategy. We'll talk about what we're seeing in markets just like yours all around the country. There is a reason, folks, that AdWords Nerds is still in business after 10 years of serving real estate investors and only real estate investors. So if you are interested in SEO, Google ads, Bing ads, anything, come over to AdWordsNerds.com. We will help you out. All right, folks, that's it for this week's episode. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. You can leave a review on this podcast. I read every single one. And I will see you next week. Thanks always for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.